We as Group 1 had a class action scenario where Meta platforms unlawfully shared personal information to third parties. We had several assessments and our discussions was led by Prof. Brodryk and Ms. Nuvazi. We also had the privilege to have a professional discussion at ENS with Wim Steyn, all of which will be discussed in this video.
3. In our small group sessions with Professor Brodryk and Ms. Nuvazi at the Law Clinic, we focused on unpacking the Nomsom Tembu versus Meta Platforms class action case. Together, we went through the detailed facts and identified the key legal and procedural issues, such as jurisdiction, certification of class, and the evidentiary challenges in data privacy litigation. Under the guidance, we mapped out how civil procedure rules intersect with technology and law and discussed practical litigation strategies for both the applicant and the respondents.
They encouraged us to separate material fact from the relevant details and to think critically about how procedural choices can influence the outcome of the cases. This session laid the foundation for our written litigation reflection memorandum and prepared us for drafting the advice of evidence memorandum in the following classes.
Small sessions that we had with Professor Brodryk and Ms. Nuvazi were extremely helpful as they gave us insightful tips as to the purpose of an advice on evidence, what goes into an advice on evidence, as well as how to achieve the best mark in regards to our written piece and the oral.
For our first assignment, we were tasked with writing a litigation memorandum in which we had to provide an opinion on key procedural and strategic decisions taken in the case and reflect on how the decisions affected the progress of the litigation. Having been given only 500 words to complete this assignment proved to be quite the challenge, considering the density of the set of facts. However, being given this assignment so early on in the course of the small group sessions gave us a strong mental analysis framework to help us tackle the assignments that followed.
So we had to draft an advice on evidence for our clients. Now this is where we advise our clients on what steps to take procedurally before a trial and also what to anticipate from the plaintiff. Now, did we know what an advice on evidence was? No. But how did we do as a group? We ate.
Oh, hi there. Didn't see you there. Just kidding. I'm here to tell you about our first session at ENS. We learned that you must always try and keep the client happy, when to brief counsel, and how many to brief. Spoiler alert, brief them right at the start.
At our second applied session at ENS, we gained very valuable practical insight into mediation, discovery, and settlement. But most importantly, we received muffins, juice, coffee, and a gift.
In our final assessment as Group 1, we were required to prepare for an oral that took the format of a 10-minute question and answer session with Professor Nuvazi and Professor Brodryk. They individually asked the plaintiff and defendant groups questions on the advice on evidence that they had submitted, and we were required to explain and motivate the strategic steps we proposed moving forward in the litigation.
This module taught me how important self-care is for building a sustainable legal career. I found it fascinating to see how psychology and law intersect, shaping the way we understand people and behavior. I also appreciated that each small group worked differently, reflecting the diversity of real-world professional settings. And most of all, I valued engaging with professionals whose career reflects the path I aim to follow.
The group was tasked with drafting up an email pertaining to data privacy. As external counsel, we had to put our legal strategy into that email. As such, the group got an opportunity to explore legal specialization, negotiation and alternative dispute resolution, and strategic thinking and case management.
To conclude, the ILS module taught each group member valuable skills in the breaking down of different sections of our law, with that being civil litigation in terms of class action lawsuits and data privacy in terms of the law and technology. We had to apply the law practically in terms of an advice on evidence for different plaintiffs and defendants. And a special thanks goes out to the module coordinators as well as Ms. Nuvazi and Prof. Brodryk for their efforts in facilitation of such an enriching experience. Thank you.